Το Mama μου podcast στηρίζεται από το Limassol Therapy Center, έναν κέντρο όπου παιδιά, έφηβοι και ενήλικες βρίσκουν στήριξη και καθοδήγηση μέσα από υπηρεσίες ψυχολογίας, λογοθεραπεία, εργοθεραπεία και ειδική αγωγή, πάντα με σεβασμό και αγάπη. Για περισσότερες πληροφορίες μπορείτε να επισκεφτείτε το limassoltherapycenter.com ή να καλέσετε στο 25 33 33 75. Hello, I am Eleni and this is the Mamamu podcast, a podcast I created back in 2019 when I realized that the voices, opinions, and experiences of the mothers of Cyprus didn't really have a platform onto which they could be heard. While I longed to know what motherhood was like here on the island for others like me, and what politicians, academics, experts, and opinion leaders were doing to better our experiences and those of our children, I also longed to learn more about the mothers living on the other side in the north. For years, growing up in the UK and then in Cyprus and going through the education system here in Cyprus, I was taught and told that monsters lived over there, mean and bad people who wanted me and my family dead. That narrative began to fade when I returned to my birthplace, London, to study and finally met and interacted with Turkish-speaking Cypriots. And then, when I became a mother and my children started going to school with Turkish Cypriot kids, that hateful narrative was completely demolished. I created this platform and podcast to give visibility to our common goals and our worries. And today's guest is here to do exactly that. I first came across her work and her words over the summer when information was presented on the topic of introducing a roadmap for making both Greek and Turkish language mandatory in primary education across the island. Deniz Birinci is a single mum who speaks both languages, and so does her little girl Olivia. She posted videos of little Olivia speaking Greek, Turkish and English, and wondered why anyone would be against this. I contacted her immediately, and here she is. We chat about this, but also about nationalism and historical narratives. As a communications expert and program manager at the European Commission, we also talk about better ways of communicating. Now, on with Deniz, on with the show. Deniz, welcome to the studio and thank you for responding to my invitation and for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, actually. I was super excited to receive your invitation and I'm very happy to be here today.
Cool. So, as I said before we put the microphones on, we're two mothers raising kids. There's chaos going on around us right now. And we worry for ourselves as women, but we also worry about our kids as mothers. So basically, the main reason why I invited you on the podcast is because over the summer, there was talks, and I'd like you to explain what those talks were. I think they were under the auspice of the Slovakian Embassy, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots talking together and thinking of ways maybe to introduce the Turkish language to public primary schools. And as expected, there was a big reaction, especially from more nationalist parties and ideological groups. And then I saw your post, and then I saw your little girl speaking in both Turkish and Greek, and you replying to her. think there was a bit of English in there as well. Tell me about that moment in time over the summer with this recommendation that kids learn the Turkish language as well.
Right. Actually, as you rightly put, it was a proposal that was brought to the table during this bicommunal political parties meeting organized by the Slovak Embassy. It's something that's been going on over the past 30 years.
Okay.
In fact, I myself was a member of that platform when I used to be in active politics. I no longer am. Because of my current job. So I'm here in my personal capacity right now, just to underline that. But in the past, I used to be very active in politics. And maybe I will be in the future one day. Why not?
Hopefully.
I actually miss that a lot, to be honest. But the scope of those meetings is to bring Turkish Cypriot, Greek Cypriot political parties from all ends of the spectrum, and to try to find some common ground. And it's the most difficult thing you can imagine, how someone from DICO and how someone from UBP can sit down and sign a joint communique. Every single word counts and every single thing is so sensitive. So during this specific meeting that you were referring to, it was actually my former political party, TDP, which is the Turkish Cypriot Social Democrats.
Okay.
They brought this initiative. Actually, it's not like, discovering America from all over again. It's something very simple, in my opinion. It's something that should have already been there, which is education in both official languages of the Republic of Cyprus.
Yeah.
I mean, Turkish, for some Greek Cypriots, is only the language of the occupier, right?
Yeah.
That's how they see it. But in reality, it is their official language too.
Yeah. And it's also, because I read a lot about it's the language of the occupier. It's a very narrow way of looking at something so broad.
Exactly.
As something like language.
Because it's not just the language of the occupier for them, it's also the language of their fellow Cypriots, right? It's my native language. It's Turkish is being used in their own local dialect on a daily basis. Yep. And most people, it really strikes me how most people don't even know. I know so many Greek Cypriot friends whose last names are Şekerlis, Ateşli, Aşık something. These are all Turkish words. Yeah. And we use both Turkish and Greek words in our daily language. We have Turkish Cypriot dialect as well, just like there is the Greek Cypriot dialect. Yeah. And we use each other's words on a daily basis. Yeah. I can say medozori in Turkish, and they can say git da gel, alışveriş. So many. Yesterday I was reading someone criticize civil servants for being lazy, as if they work in tembelhane. And I smiled at that word. Tembelhane is very Turkish. Tembel is tembelis, tembelyaris. This is the root is the Turkish word lazy. And hane is the Turkish word for house, home, speedy. So tembelhane is where lazy people stay. Live, right? So we use Turkish a lot. Greek Cypriots use it all the time. Yeah. And why be so afraid of it? Yeah. Because
there are also, I live close to a village called Bodamya.
Right.
And I had friends from there growing up, and it's a mixture of Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. And I would listen to the Turkish language being spoken on a regular, daily basis. And even though the Greek Cypriots didn't have a full vocabulary, they were able to communicate. Right. And no one ever thought it was weird and strange.
Indeed. So coming back to our main topic, which is being mothers. So I have an 8-year-old who goes to a public school in the Greek Cypriot community. I would not say she's the only one because I don't know for sure, but as far as I know, she's the only Turkish Cypriot student going to a public Greek Cypriot school. So she's getting all her education in Greek language, and she's learning Turkish at home with me.
Why did you choose to send your child to a Greek Cypriot school?
It has to do with the reason why I chose to give her the name Olivia. Olivia meaning the symbol of peace, because I always wanted to have a bicommunal child, in the sense that I wanted to have 100% Cypriot in my life. So it was my way of solving the Cyprus problem, knowing that it's very difficult. Hopefully it will happen in our lifetime. But even if it cannot happen, I don't want to be the person who sits there and waits for other people to solve the Cyprus problem. So this was my way, or within my own capacity, my way of solving the Cyprus problem. So I named my child Olivia, symbol of peace, and I have decided that she has to learn both official language of the Republic of Cyprus from the moment she could speak, from the day that she was 2 years old and she opened her mouth and she started saying her first words. They came out in both Greek and Turkish. Because I went and I registered her in a Greek Cypriot nursery. So she started hearing and listening to Greek from day one. So from there, afterwards, she went to public Protimotiki. And it wasn't, I never imagined this to happen, but it was a natural path that followed. In the beginning, I was a bit hesitant. I was like, maybe there's too much nationalism. Maybe they will isolate her. Maybe she will feel excluded. But not at all. I wanted to take the risk, and so far I'm very happy.
Okay.
And so, but there are some isolated incidents here and there, and it's only natural. So, for example, when I sent her to a summer school last summer, and she had some friends from different schools who don't know her, who don't know her background, and when she told me, "Mommy, I made a huge mistake today," and I asked her, "What did you do, my love?" And she told me, "I told my new friends that I'm Turkish Cypriot," and I said, "What's wrong with that? That's something you should be proud of. There's nothing wrong with being a Turkish Cypriot. You're a Cypriot at the end of the day. And what's wrong with saying that you're Turkish?" But then all my friends, my new friends, made fun of me. And they told me, they asked me actually, why am I learning their language? To be a traitor? And I was shocked, 7-year-old kids knowing the word traitor, asking another 7-year-old, why are you learning our language? To be a traitor, to sell us, to stab us, to stab us in the back, and this it's really sad, because it probably comes from the family, right? How else can a 7-year-old come up with such an imagination all of a sudden?
Exactly.
Because we are automated to think that Turkish Cypriots. First of all, the imagination is that Turkish Cypriot is Turk. I myself have to fight with this at my age very often in my daily life, where people may try to insult me by calling me Turkalla, and I always correct them politely. No, είμαι Κυπρέα. And my daughter is also facing this now. So when they find out that she's a Turkish Cypriot, first they start saying skada, Turks are skada. This is happening, but I'm teaching her how to πώς πρέπει να αντιμετωπίσει. How she has to tell them that no, we are all Cypriots. This is our common land. And
how, Deniz, you're teaching your daughter how to be the sensible one in the room, the logical one in the room. And unfortunately, it gets to the point where not unfortunately, it's not unfortunate. It's just something that we have to do as parents who are raising kids who, in my experience, my 3 boys go to school with Turkish Cypriot kids. They have Turkish Cypriot friends. It's not something that if you had told me 10, 20 years ago that I would be prepared for, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't even expect it. But it makes you realize how much harder our kids have to fight for common decency, kindness, peace, no discrimination, in the context of them being 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. So what I am doing is, in a way, trying to conquer the castle from within. I am seeing, first of all, I was raised in a public school system on the other side of the divide. So I know how nationalism is instilled into little brains from a very young age. On the other side of the divide. And now I'm seeing it through my daughter, how it still happens. in this day and age, I mean, the notebooks that she brings home, they all say thanks on them. And I know that they are being given free of charge by the church. Okay, there's no problem with the thanks. We should not forget about our past. But it's the whole amalgamation of the rhetorics, the nationalist elements.
Yeah.
I faced that, for example, when she was in her first grade. They had to celebrate when she was going to celebrate April 1st EOKA Day. I went to school and I clarified it to the teacher that for us, for the Turkish Cypriot Kinodita EOKA, they don't differentiate between EOKA Alpha and EOKA Vita.
Yeah.
So in our schools, they teach EOKA as something very negative.
Yeah.
Whereas I know full well the difference that EOKA Alpha was something that people are proud of, but EOKA Vita was not good.
Yeah.
But there was that sensitivity in me whether I'm doing something right as a mother by allowing my kid to go into this ceremony and to tell what. Then I said, why not?
Yeah.
So I said, sure, I want her to participate in this. They selected her to be the narrator of the event. And then she comes home with this paragraph about Rivadiyeni, about how he is the hero, he is the one who saved the island, and he saved so many lives. And I said, okay, this is something that is highly debated even among the Greek Cypriot community, right? So when there is so much sensitivity, it's not right, in my opinion, to try to give that to a first grade kid. As he's our national hero. From what I know, and with all due respect, he's not. I mean, the Greek Cypriot community itself is heavily divided about his personality. Why? Because of the fact that he established EOKA Vita as well, and anyway. So what happened is the school understood the sensitivity there. And then they decided to give her a different role, whereby she became Cyprus, representing the island of Cyprus, dressed up in an all-white dress. And she was the symbol of peace. And she went to all of her friends, and she put a wreath on their heads, to symbolize an olive wreath, to symbolize peace. So if there is a will, there is a way to do things with kids. While still teaching them about their past, but not in such a manipulative way, not in a way that they grow up to hate each other.
Well, you've said a lot in that little piece, but I'm going to stick to the nationalism part that you said, because I really want to ask your opinion on that. But I was also going to say that in many cases, and I'm going to replace the word Grivas, the Deniz and EOKA with religion. What I find myself many times is that as someone who believes that Christianity has its good parts and its bad parts, I could have said that I don't want my kids to be taught religious studies, Bible studies. For me, knowledge is power, whether it is propaganda or whether it is the truth. I find that it's very important that kids are given both pieces of information and then guided through it. To block any form of knowledge or information, I think that will have a backlash. So no matter how much it hurts sometimes, when our kids hear different kinds of narratives that can be mean and hateful, I find that it's important for them to listen to that narrative, but then you, the parent, the guardian, be able to explain it and push what we're always talking about, critical thinking. Think about this. Based on everything that you know, is this true? Does this make sense to you? And I feel that's kind of what you're doing as well. Allowing your child to unfortunately be affected by some bad narrative, but at the same time, empower her to have the knowledge to either debate or to be able to use her critical thinking skills to analyze what's been said to her.
Indeed, when she was in first grade, first day of school, they extended her the religion book. at school, and she rejected it.
Yeah.
She said, my 6-year-old daughter said, no, I don't want to. I want to be exempt from this class. I did not even know that they were going to have.
My teenage son asked about, he's 14 and a half. He was 12 and he said, I don't want to do this anymore. And I said, no, you stay there, you learn.
Right. I did not even know that they were going to have religious education in first grade. So it was completely her own initiative. And when I found out about this, next day I go to school and I say, listen, I think there was a misunderstanding yesterday in class. It's not me who asked her. I didn't even know. I actually do want her to sit in the religion class. Yeah. Right? So in a way, I forced her to stay. Why? To be open-minded, to learn. I approach it as general education as well.
Exactly.
You know, like, why not learn? So I forced her to do the religion class last year as well, so the first grade and second grade. This year, she said, Mommy, please, like, and now because of her other health problems, she needs to have some specific hours of extra teaching with the class teacher. So I decided that, okay, it is logical that instead of missing out from another class, it's better for her to use that hour. So this year, I agreed with her, and this year she's exempt from it. But still, they get to sit in class. I don't know, they haven't started the extra lessons yet. So she's sitting in class and she's helping with the exercises and homework of her classmates. What we have there is we have open-minded kids, who are not rejecting anything. And this is how it should be. This is not about being strict Jews, strict Muslims, strict Christians. First and foremost, they have to know that they're all sisters and brothers, right? And then if they do believe in God, I do believe in God myself, but if she chooses not to believe in God, then it's going to be her choice. If at the end of the day she decides to characterize herself as a Muslim or as a Christian or as an atheist, it has to be her decision. It's not something that can be imposed by us.
Yeah. And also having, as a parent, knowing that you've given all the information, all the tools to help her decide, you'll feel better knowing that she's decided based on a spectrum of information that she has.
Indeed.
Instead of just limiting it. So nationalism. Nationalism, according to the Greek Cypriot far-right political group that we have that's on the rise now, is we don't want to learn any other language. We don't want to know about any other religion. We're cutting off anything and everything that's different from us. I've spoken about our far-right group many times on my podcast, but I'd like to hear over there what's going on in terms of nationalism. Is it on the rise as it is here?
I believe that the reason why people have such strong rejectionist behavior is because they have no contact with the other. So as long as they don't have any contact, they don't know what is on the other side, and they are afraid of the other person. I had a friend that I was introduced to who is now one of the leading members of the specific party you're referring to. She had a very strong opinion against Turkish Cypriots when we met. But when I gave birth, she was the first one who came to the clinic to bring a little gift for the baby. It's because people are being cut off from each other. Yeah. The minute they manage to sit down around the same table and talk, they realize that they are all Cypriots, they are all the same, they all have the same anxiousness, worries about the future and everything. So again, I'm a huge supporter of bicommunal dialogue. I believe that it's the ultimate thing that we need in this island, because it's the same reason why exactly on the other side of the divide we have the strict people who say, for example, according to them, I am a Rumcu. Rum means Greek Cypriot in the Turkish Cypriot dialect. Okay. And Rumcu means pro-Greek Cypriot. Okay. So for them, I stand out as a Rumcu because I spend a lot of time over on this side of the divide. I have a lot of Greek Cypriot friends. I'm very open on social media about how I feel towards the Greek Cypriot community. I don't see them as the other. And this bothers
Yeah.
on people.
And
on the
in
other side of the divide.
2014, I also wanted to add that you wanted to take part in the European Parliament as well.
Indeed. And there, it was actually a very symbolic goal that we had. The idea was to form the first bicommunal ballot in the history of the island. It had never happened up until then. It was very difficult, but the composition of the seats in the European Parliament for Cyprus is 6 seats. Had the Annan plan been accepted, it was going to be 4 seats belonging to Greek Cypriot community and 2 seats belonging to the Turkish Cypriot community. Okay. So we tried to revitalize that. And we found myself and another Turkish Cypriot and 4 Greek Cypriots to form this joint list. And it was even gender equal. It was something that I was very sensitive about. So 3 men, 3 women. It was the dream ballot list. But of course, if you're not backed by a big political party, you can never get anywhere in this island, which is true, which applies on both sides of the divide. So, of course, we will come to that later. More recently, there was a phenomenon that changed that. An independent managed to get elected, but still, we are very far away from my ideology, what I tried to achieve at the level of bicommunality, bicommunal cooperation. But I believe it was a great effort where we did our campaign throughout the whole island. We use the word Pangiprio, right? A lot in Greek when we say all around the island, but actually that's not all around the island. That's only all around the divided half of the island. Yeah. Our campaign was really Pangiprio. I mean, it was from Paphos to Karpasia. It was from Larnaca to Kyrenia. We did a whole campaign, and it was mainly the whole campaign. I mean, with very limited budget. It was just basically walking into Cafenia and talking to people, walking into this big EOCA Cafenio somewhere in Paphos and saying hi, gentlemen, shaking hands, talking to them in Greek, shaking hands and introducing yourself as a Turkish Cypriot. It's about breaking the taboos. It's about trying to move a little forward by using humanity, nothing else. You know?
By going to Cafenia, and but I don't know if a lot of people know this, but usually every village has 2 Cafenia. It's the left and the right. So and
I made sure that I entered into the right ones, the right ones. And as a woman, all these old men, they look at you like, "What are you doing here, Gorimo?"
It's like a no woman land in the Cafenia in the villages. You just don't go in there.
That act on
There's probably just one woman serving the coffees. You won't see anyone else. So that was actually quite brave of you to walk into that. But obviously, you, a Turkish Cypriot, which we're using now for context, walking into a Kypriagon, Ellino Kypriagon, Cafene, and all these old biddies looking at you. So what was the reaction that you got? What did you hear from these people? And we're talking like 10 years ago, yeah?
Indeed.
2014.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had my dad with me, actually, who is from Paphos when I went to Paphos. We are very proud Pafidis family. My family comes from Ainikolastis Paphos.
Wow.
And the Pafidis, even if you're right wing, left wing, doesn't matter. It's enough that you're Pafidis, You go in there, you say, yes, εγώ είμαι από την Πάφο. That's a huge icebreaker. And because the people are genuine, usually those are the people who are most left out. They have the least amount of contact with the Turkish Cypriots. So the chances of someone living in Paphos crossing to the other side of the divide is very few, comparatively speaking, with someone Lefkosiadis. So that's why they are more conservative. And when you look at their voting patterns, it's very obvious that they have this resistance to bicommunality. The same thing applies for Paralimni area, but that's for another reason. It's because they are usually afraid that in case of a solution, Varosha and the other areas will pose a threat to their tourist sector. So they don't want to lose. It's usually based on that drive, which is sad. But so you gotta know what is the motivation behind everyone. I mean, it's only human. We have to understand that they don't want to lose their profit. Fine, but we have to show them that when there is a solution, it will be win-win for them as well.
Basically, Deniz, you have to be able to give these people alternatives and solutions. When you don't do that, they'll keep thinking that this is bad, this is good. It will be just black and white for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are so similar on both sides of the divide. We have the same patterns, the same behaviors. Speaking of, for example, corruption, it's widespread on both sides of the divide. So we are so Cypriot in every single way. We are not very law-abiding people in general, you know?
We're a special kind of people, aren't we?
So actually there are even negative things that can reunite us.
Yeah. Have you heard about Wiggle? Wiggle is the island's first female sexual wellness store, taking our pleasure, desires, and sexual health seriously. Founded by a wife and husband team who had a desire to deliver something better, Wiggle has one of the best selections of toys, lingerie, lubes, and other sexual wellness essentials you could wish for, from hand-picked brands like Bijou Indiscrets, Satisfyer, Lelo, and more. Visit www.wigglecy.com to learn more. Well, one of my questions is in regards to historical narratives. So I come across many parents who say sometimes we don't even know what the truth is. So how are we going to pass on that narrative to our kids? So often I find myself as well wondering when it comes to historical narratives, and we had it recently with, you mentioned the independent EU MEP Fidias, who I do have a question because, guys, guess what? Deniz is a little bit of a Fidias fan, so we're gonna. I've got that little question for you as well, but. With the whole Afxendio situation now, did he kill himself? Was he burnt alive? You know, what's going on? And you see that there are these historical narratives that a lot of us are caught up in. Some of us are thinking, I don't really care how he died. What matters is that what he did for his island, for his people. So I'm wondering, where are you on maintaining the truth, but also moving on, maybe like holding on to those historical narratives, not betraying, because we used the word traitor earlier as well, not betraying any history, but at the same time, how do we move on? Have all these in the bag, but also move on so they're not too heavy.
Thank you for this question. It's one that I feel very strongly about. I was raised in a neighborhood whereby we have this big tabela that says the Museum of Barbarism. There's a house.
I've heard of this.
Right?
You know, I had Aishanur Talat with me on a podcast, and she told me about this museum. Yeah. So whoever hasn't heard, listen to what Deniz says and compare it to what our schools and our education.
It's a traumatizing place. I was taken there when I was in primary school. All the primary school kids are taken there. Yeah. This is very traumatic, okay? And it's very near to my house. So when I was being sent to buy bread from the local beriptero, I would get off of the pavement of that museum, not to step there because I was so afraid that the mere thought of it for a little kid was so traumatizing that I would rather walk from in the middle of the road than to go from that sidewalk. It's a place where there is a bathtub, and they maintained it to show the atrocities done by the Greek Cypriots against the Turkish Cypriots. And there was a mother with her sons, 3 sons, that supposedly she covered them in the bathtub when the Greek Cypriots came in what is known as the Bloody Noel, Christmas of 1963, to my neighborhood. They entered all the houses. In fact, my own house was entered into, and there were bullet marks in my own bathroom. And my grandmother, she was so traumatized herself that she kept it like that. And she didn't allow me to repair the damn toilet until very recently, until about 10 years ago. It's very traumatizing.
It's trauma that you just don't know what to do with it.
Exactly. So I grew up with that. This is what was given to me. But me, luckily, I was lucky enough to be able to get a scholarship, a CASP scholarship, Fulbright scholarship, to go abroad, to fly away, to open my mind, to open myself to new horizons, and to understand that maybe this is one-sided propaganda, right? So then I started, and there are, just to go back to that Museum of Barbarism, there are literally pieces of brain that are stuck on the ceiling of that museum that kids are exposed to. This is extremely non-pedagogical. This is horrible. But this is part
of abuse, actually, if you ask me. Emotional abuse.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never allow my child to set foot there.
Yeah.
So years later, I'm still questioning, did it really happen? What happened? Were they really Greek Cypriots who went there? Because there are some accounts that say that they were nationalist Turkish Cypriots, actually. But there is a national rhetoric there, right?
Yeah.
So if you are of the kind that accepts it as is, then that's your choice. But I am the person who always questions and who wants to back my facts with real, actual evidence.
Yeah.
So I'm reading different sources. I'm reading different alternative Turkish Cypriot historians' accounts.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing with the Greek Cypriot versions as well, I'm also reading different alternative Greek Cypriot accounts as well. There are so many Greek Cypriot historians who write different things, that go against the mainstream. And I don't think it's an excuse in this day and age that I don't know what can I do. There is ChatGPT, there is Wikipedia, there are all kinds of resources. If you are not able to go to a library and buy a book and open and read an alternative account, at least you can, check for different sources and versions. And coming to Phidias, I do not endorse him 100%. I did not even vote for him. My dad did. I think only 2 Turkish Cypriots voted for him, and one was my dad, because he was going to vote for another party, and on his way to the ballot box, he bumped into a Greek Cypriot friend of his, and this friend of his said, "This guy is a genius, you got to vote for this kid." And my dad said, "Okay, if my Greek Cypriot friends wants me to, then I will. I will trust him, and I will do that." So he's one of the 2 Turkish Cypriots votes that came for him.
Oh, wow.
So what do I like about him? Of course, I do not endorse anyone 100%, but I like the fact that he is challenging these narratives. I listened with great pleasure to his podcast with Takis Hajidimitriou. And I was so impressed. I actually listened to that podcast like 3 times.
Okay.
I highly recommend you to do that.
Yeah.
You learn so much about Cypriot history, and it's the challenging bits, because the guy, may God give him health, he's alive and he has this amazing memory.
Mind as well.
And he's so smart.
Yeah.
And he backs every argument with actual facts.
Yeah.
So you get to learn a different version of your history, and that's what Phidias was doing, challenging the system.
Well, the truth is that I think when he worked with the Turkish Cypriot influencer the first time and pictures came out, my son, my oldest son, obviously being a teenage boy, he likes Phidias, and he was like, "Oh, look, what do you have to say about this?" And I said, good on him. That's something that he should do. The same with the Dadar interview. My problem with Phidias is that I don't feel that he genuinely cares. I feel that it's more a show for clicks and views, to cause controversy, to get people talking about him, to get people looking and watching his podcast, even though obviously with the whole Afksendil thing, it was very obvious that nobody had actually gone and listened to the whole podcast to realize that the person he was interviewing was not saying what everyone said he had said. But then again, you had Phidias put on a title that said, "Δεν γαίγες ζωντανός." So, I mean,
but that shows us
you're asking for trouble as a media person, as a journalist, as someone who has, been trained to go against any form of tabloid journalism and clickbait. That is my only issue with Phidias. The clickbait, the rage baiting, the trying to stir up controversy, when we're at, I think, a place in our politics where we really need to turn the temperature down. We need to calm down and take things calmly, diplomatically. Let's talk about it. Yeah, that's my...
Yeah, I think we really needed someone, though, to bring the alternative view to the table, and nobody was doing this up until now. We need to be exposed to the controversial parts of, I'm talking about Cyprus history now, Cyprus problem, on both sides of the divide.
I think I would say that there were people who were doing it, but they didn't have the big platform that Fidias had. Yeah.
So as long as he keeps positively provoking people in terms of Cyprus history, and he keeps spreading the message that there is the other side of the medallion too.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, I will continue appreciating him from that perspective, because we really need that, because there is another side of the medallion.
Of course there is.
And we have to learn by now.
Yeah.
In order to be able to make an opinion, to have our own opinion, we have to be exposed to both sides of the medallion and then decide.
Yep. Things we agree with, things we disagree with, things that make us uncomfortable.
Yes.
Once you face that that discomfort, that's when you see that things open up a bit more.
This happened in our society too, in our community too, a couple of years ago, when a Turkish Cypriot politician started speaking about Greek Cypriot women getting raped by the Turkish army in 1974.
Yeah.
This was considered a taboo.
Yeah.
But for the first time, somebody said, hey, this happened. And in the beginning, people started attacking her, saying, no, you're a loser, this never happened. But it did happen, right?
Yeah, and then we had our side as well, Skevi Guguma, talking about it. I've done a podcast on it, which is in Greek. If anyone, I'll put that in the show notes if anyone wants to listen to that. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, I want your thoughts on Christodoulidis and Tatar. And then I would also, if you could, based on your knowledge and experience, tell me why you think that Akinci lost the elections 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
5 years ago,
Right.
yeah.
Akinci became a victim of his own emotions, basically. He couldn't really maintain his diplomatic position too much. He didn't let his communication advisors take the center stage, so he didn't listen. He didn't listen. He was too verbal, let's say, against Erdogan, and in his position, it was too sensitive.
Okay.
It was too sensitive. So the minute that he openly criticized Erdogan from his own social media account, then the inevitable happened, and Erdogan started confronting him. So that was a domino effect. That was the beginning of the end. And also his other mistake was he was too emotional. So when Crans-Montana collapsed, he went in front of the cameras and he said, this was the last chance. We lost it. We will no longer have a federal solution or something along those lines. So, and then when he went up on stage again during the election campaign and said, I'm asking for a second chance to go and try it again, then he had already damaged his own credibility. But, okay, is he the only one to blame? No, of course, unfortunately, the Greek Cypriot political elements of the time paved the way for this. During the last part of his tenure, he was not active. There were no active negotiations. So basically, everyone just watched him sit there, and we literally wasted an era, a very important opportunity. And then he lost with a very, very small margin. It was very unfortunate.
So let's go to Christodoulidis. Yeah. What do you feel? Your thoughts on him?
Well, he is saying that he wants to have a federal solution, and we want to believe that. He just doesn't have the right counterpart in front of him at the moment. So hopefully he will have the chance to show to all Cypriots that he is very sincere about that, and it will be a great eventuality, hopefully. But we are lucky that we have Miss Olgin. She's trying so hard. She's
Have you
so
met
dedicated.
her?
Yes. I really love her. She's very admirable. As a woman, she's trying so hard. And she said something very important the other day. She said it's the leaders who need to take some decisions, right? I see how much effort she's putting into that. This is the UN is making a lot of effort, and also the EU is supporting the whole process. But at the end of the day, it has to be a Cypriot-led process, and time is really running out. Because the people are dying, literally dying, and I mean, I think this is the last generation which is on stage now, who actually have the experience of living together. So we don't have the luxury of time.
That's
people
so
are
true.
dying, memories are dying. The goal of going back to the lost homeland is dying as the people are dying. I remember the famous Greek Cypriot businessman Lordos, who was saying that he is more than willing to even go live in a chadiri outside his house, his building in Varosha. And what happened? He passed away without seeing anything. So, I mean, we don't have the luxury of infinite time. And we all, as citizens, as Cypriots, have this duty, this moral duty to push our leaders towards a solution. And the ground, in my opinion, is very firm. It's the basis, the framework, the UN framework, bizonal, bicommunal federation based on political equality. And we really don't have the time to try to rediscover America. I feel very sad that we are losing time by discussing two-state solution or unilateral states. These are both no-goes, and the formation of the political solution is very much determined. It's the one agreed by both communities, and it's the one supported by the EU as well. And I personally do not see any other way out.
And also our leaders need to be aware of the younger generation that is forming its own experiences with Turkish Cypriots with Greek Cypriots and Greek Cypriots with Turkish Cypriots. So when our kids, you know, in 10 years will have very different ideas and positions about what is over there, what is over here, who is there, who is here, because they know each other.
Now that we have so many very nice, amazing programs like the Cyprus Friendship Program. There's also UWC, United World Colleges, supported by the EU.
And we also had Imagine,
which is unfortunately halted by the Turkish Cypriot leadership at the moment. And I really hope that it will get back to normal very soon. Even the bicommunal choir, my daughter is a part of it, and I'm so proud of that. There you have, it's an organization, it's an activity supported by both Poet and KTÖS, both the Turkish Cypriot, Greek Cypriot Teachers Associations, unions, under the auspices with the kind support of the Germans, the German Embassy. But it's a place where you take your kid, and there is a Greek-speaking music teacher and a Turkish-speaking music teacher, and they both speak, taftohrona, and the kids get the exposure to the other language, and they learn to sing songs in both official languages of the island. So each song that they sing is half in Turkish, half in Greek, and it goes like that. And they have joint concerts. And the kids, they're playing together. They listen to each other's language. It's amazing. It's how a joint classroom, an ideal classroom.
And we're sitting around, Deniz, more wondering who can see something wrong with that picture, and why. Why seeing kids, and I was going to say that I also recorded a podcast on Imagine. I will put that in the show notes as well for anyone wants to hear. But yeah, you're looking at this picture of kids singing, and you're trying very hard to understand why anyone would have a problem with this.
They sing John Lennon's Imagine. They sing the Dilirga, the most famous Cypriot songs.
Yeah.
The one
They're
that
singing.
I cannot sing, the Asherbendi Mashirbendi, that song.
No,
That one, I love it.
Yeah, see, I know it.
See, I don't know it because no one ever gave me the
I know it.
opportunity to
And I
learn
wasn't even born in Cyprus, Deniz. I was born in England. So,
But my daughter is growing up and learning it, singing
Yeah.
it. And this is amazing.
Yeah.
It brings tears to my eyes
It
to know
does.
this is culture, this is Cypriot culture.
Yeah, it does. And as I told you over the phone, and I've also talked about this with common friends that we have, Pembe, Deria, we're raising boys, and our boys have asked us, if there's a war, do I have to kill my friend? And, that was one of the first, I think Georgie was about 8 when he asked me that question. And the shock that you do not know how to answer that question, that you cannot make your child feel safe knowing that he does not have to be killed and he does not have to kill anyone. And we can't do that. You are a communications expert. Communication, I feel, in all of the contexts that we have just spoken about, is very important. I feel that we're doing it in a wrong way, or maybe we have never been taught how to do it in a proper, productive way. So my question to you is, how do we communicate better? What can we do to make sure that we are communicating these messages, these things that we've just talked about, better and to a broader audience?
Mm-hmm. I think there are a lot of lies in the island of Cyprus, right? Based on what we have been discussing. So at the core of it is lies. So when we communicate, we have to make sure that we stay away from the lies. The more we manage to filter the lies in our own personal lives, starting from our personal lives, the healthier the communication will get, because we are actually taught that it's okay to resort to lies. It's okay because the state is resorting to lies, because the politicians are resorting to lies, because everybody is cheating in every way in this island, whether it's through business dealings or through politics or even in personal lives. There's a lot of cheating. There's a lot of lying going on, right? Everybody is cheating behind each other's back. So this is reflected in our everyday communication. We feel like, I have to show myself the best way, even if it has to be through resorting to lies. But what matters is my image, what kind of an image I project. So there, we let go of honesty. We let go of sincerity. So my answer to that is that best communication is direct communication, and it's the one based on sincerity and honesty.
Yeah. And also what you said before, when you get to know the person, and this doesn't apply just to the Greek Cypriot, Turkish Cypriot issues. It also applies to racism. It also applies to homophobia. It also applies to sexism. When you sit down with a black person, with a Muslim person, and you have a coffee with them, you will see that it's beyond me that we have to say these, logical things, but we do have to say them. You'll see that is a human being who has the same problems and challenges as you. Turkish Cypriot mothers have the same challenges with Greek Cypriot mothers. A gay family, a lesbian couple, a gay couple raising kids, they have the same problems and issues that you do. When you sit down face to face, dead with someone, and you see their humanity, it's very difficult to hate them.
So the key is to actually establish communication, right? Because a lot of people are trying to avoid communication.
Yes.
Even in our personal lives, when we have a problem, when we fight with our husband or with our boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever it may be, we sometimes try to hold back, right?
Isolate.
We cut off the communication.
Yeah.
And what happens nowadays, social media age, people break up, first thing they do, they block each other. Why?
So true.
Why can't you be decent, mature? Because the best solution to be healthy is to communicate.
Dialogue.
Dialogue. Most important thing. That's why I'm all for bicommunal dialogue.
Yeah.
And I always say that the best relationships are bicommunal ones, from my personal experience as well. It's the best way to bring this island forward at a personal level as well. I think people should make an effort. It can be just getting out of your way to communicate with a Turkish Cypriot, as you said, to have a coffee, to have friends. I often hear Greek Cypriots say, but I don't cross to the north. Why? Because I don't know anyone there. I don't have anything to do there. Well, it's so easy nowadays to find your cliques, to meet people, and to have the communication, because communication is the basic foundation of all human relations, right?
So true.
And I believe that whenever we have, just like you said, basic communication, the rest will come. All the problems will be solved, even at a personal level.
Even at a personal level.
I mean, I'm not married, but I'm really horrified when I hear that, oh, my husband did something and I'm pissed off with him, but I'm not talking to him. Talk about it. What are you afraid of? Just face it, confront it, sit down, let him confront it, and solve it.
But also, Deniz, I think part of the problem is that we were never taught how to communicate. It's a soft skill that was never worked upon, especially in the public education system. In some private schools, I didn't go to a private school, but in some private schools, you know, you have the debate club as well.
Right.
And you are forced to debate for the other side. Exactly. That gives you skills. So
empathy.
And empathy. Thank you. And empathy. So there are some skills that we were never taught. They're not part of the education system, whereas they should be. You know, there's so much research and statistics on this, getting to know your next door neighbor in order to build common ground and go forward. We know what we're supposed to do. We're just not pushing for it.
Fully agree.
Yeah. So I'm just hoping that with conversations like these and with the work that you do, and also the unbelievable work that women are doing in both communities. There's so much going on, guys. And I would like Deniz to recommend later on, and I'll put that in the show notes, any form of bicommunal work that if you want to get involved in, you can do that. And yeah, let's start pushing these conversations into the open and, you know, coming together. As cliche
Thank you
as
so
it
much
seems.
for spreading these messages. They're so precious, so important, and they're actually basic messages, but people have been ignoring them all this time. Just as much as they go out for a simple coffee with a fellow Greek Cypriot, they should be going out, you know, doing that, getting out of their way. Actually, something very simple. I was recommending people to go to a gym on the other side of the divide. If you're a Greek Cypriot, go to a gym, go find a gym on the other side and go there. Why?
Wow.
Why? It's just something simple. You will be doing your gym, your exercises, but around there will be people, siga, you will start making friends, you know. Or go register in a fitness class.
Yeah.
You will hear the 1, 2, 3, 4 being counted in the other language. You know, it's amazing.
And it won't seem so foreign to you.
Exactly.
And it won't seem like it's the end of the world.
Exactly. And it will be super beneficial for you. You know, you will be doing what you would be doing on the other side anyway.
Yeah. Both sides have gym bros, yeah?
Exactly.
Protein obsessed, muscle pumping gym bros. You know, that's the thing, you know, whatever's going on the other side, whatever country it is and whatever side we're talking about, whether it's ideologically or physically, there is the equivalent of what we're doing there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes you don't need someone. You can just, with small initiatives like that, you can start it yourself and then the rest will come.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, especially nowadays with politically things being tense, with the arrest of people, our fellow
the
Cypriots,
5 Greek Cypriots, which you've written extensively on.
I feel very ashamed about that, but I'm only a human being and I'm only an ordinary citizen. There is not much I can do about that. Except to keep saying that we should not be bogged down by these. And αντίθετο, we have to cross more often. We have to reach out more often. I mean, I'm fully against all these people who are screaming, shut down the borders, shut down the crossing points. No, no.
You shut down the borders and the crossing points, guys. You're shutting away friends of our kids and our friends as
and
well.
It's our common patrida. It's our country.
No.
So we have to stand up against all the injustices together.
Yeah.
Okay? No individual in his or her capacity can change the current status quo, no matter how much they would want to. This is not up to us. This is up to the politicians who will be at the negotiating table. What is up to us is to make sure that we have good communal, bicommunal, human relations and communication. And are you doing that at your level? Are you holding on to that responsibility? Because it's everyone's responsibility. That's what you have to answer. So from my side, I have a very clean conscience. And I'm very happy to be spending almost equal time on both sides of the divide.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time and your energy. And I hope that we can record more conversations soon.
With pleasure.
Thank you,
so
Deniz
much for having me.
Thanks.